Good morning, Rob Brown, Brendan Martin in Ocala, Florida, and got a great show today. It is the Friday College Football Roundtable.
My AC's kind of in and out with the power today, so if you see my sweating, it's just because I'm trying to get through the humidity. It's okay.
Yeah, it is. Oh, God, yeah, that's right.
That's right.
The power, 3.4 million at one time in Florida, so we get one back as fast as possible.
Yeah, they're bringing the grid back up, so they kind of take people back down and back up. So it's like we go through it, but we got the generator on today. We just got a little AC going.
You're the man. That's right. It's going to be a fun day. Hey, lot to cover today. Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, going to get his thoughts on the Hogs, what they're doing. Get his thoughts too on Tennessee. What he saw out of them that makes him think they can beat Florida or the Gators can be victorious. 6 of the last 8 in Knoxville. The Gators have come home a winner. Doug Dean, Frank Duffy, Ken Capps at the Texas State Fair for the OU Texas Red River Shootout. We're going to cover all the SEC's games this weekend. Get pen and paper handy and smash that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Allow notifications on your Android and iPhone. It helps us immediately. It helps us so much when you share the show and you subscribe. You'll get a ding in the morning. So we love our audience and our sponsors. We're here for you. And we got a big announcement Monday on a big new sponsor we're really, really excited about. Oh my God, I'm excited about this. So we'll be ready to roll Monday with that. And let's get started right now. Who is in? We got Frank.
We got
Doug.
all sorts of people. We got loaded. We'll bring in Dudley Dawson, and and Frank. Go to hell, Ole Miss Duffy. So
yeah, that's a nasty one, Dudley. We won't keep you long. About 15 minutes. I know you got a lot of stuff. We normally have you on Wednesdays. That was so much fun. That trip up in Fayetteville last weekend, and when Doug Dean's ready, bringing Doug. But we had so much fun up there. I felt like there was a path to victory for Arkansas. Your takeaways from that game and what you saw out of Tennessee, what Arkansas did, and your thoughts on that Florida Tennessee game up in Knoxville tomorrow night.
Well, first of all, I didn't really see a path to victory. I thought Tennessee would win and win rather easily. Arkansas has found ways to lose ball games instead of win them. And they were able to pull this off. It is a narrative-changing win, at least for a couple of weeks. I do think they're going to be bye this weekend. I would have taken bye last year when they were having the most trouble. But yeah, it's made people a lot happier around here, obviously. And you have a situation where they can concentrate even more on the next game with LSU, which is going to be big to continue the narrative. Because if you beat Tennessee and go out and lose to LSU at home, you're still pretty much back where you were in terms of trying to rally the troops, state around you. And I will tell you one thing: there's a lot of haters here this week that ain't saying anything.
Yeah. Dudley, Travis Williams, Marcus Woodson. Like I told you when they came, having watched them work at Auburn, Florida State, Central Florida, but the 2 years at Auburn when Marcus was there. They're developers of talent and great recruiters, but they're also outstanding coaches. Talk about that game plan. Nico Iamaleava looked mighty pedestrian. I'm not going to say he looked like an Auburn quarterback because that's unfair, but he was holding the ball. He was confused, and even you kept thinking at some point Tennessee was going to get it rolling, and they never were able to get out of bed with 2 feet on the ground.
Yeah, we talk about film work and maybe fans kind of gloss it over and, they're just watching on this and that. Apparently, Travis Williams went into intensive video therapy this past week, and he found some tendencies with Tennessee and was able to get them, according to him, more in 12. And that way they were able to really match up against the offensive line. I think we talked last week about a hat on a hat and those type of things. It was just a really great game plan from Travis. This week it was the defensive coordinator not the offensive coordinator, was cashing that check and smiling.
Well, Doug and Frank, we were all together last week when Chancellor Dr. Robinson came over. Got to spend some more time with him Sunday, Dudley. He came back over to the presentation by the McClellans and the Sigma News. They gave out 25 scholarships to the Sigma News up there. And all the donors met the people they were giving them to. Boy, that'll get you out of bed in the morning. Hey, I met Dr. Lawson. He's giving me a scholarship. I'm not going to miss class. But Doug and Frank, your questions to Dudley on what happened last weekend. That was pretty cool.
Well, first of all, Rob, can any of those Sigma News on scholarship play quarterback?
They're all in Arkansas. Well, there is the portal.
It's open.
Hey, Dudley, good to see you, brother. You too, Duff. And
you too, buddy.
Hat tip, wear big hat tip to Frank Duffy and the Cajun. What are they called, Frank? The
Cajun Navy.
Cajun Navy. I mean, you guys are doing unbelievable heroic work for those.
Thanks.
Under such enormous stress and life-threatening stuff in Western North Carolina and elsewhere. But back to Dudley, I want to compliment Arkansas to me more than anything else this year. They look so well coached. I mean, the mistakes are going to happen with college players, but my goodness, to be dealt the hand they've got with some youth at key positions, and probably not a roster that is, I don't want to be unfair, but there's not even 80% of, say, a Georgia roster in terms of depth of quality. Arkansas coaching staff is getting every ounce of performance and ability out of that team. Is that how you see it, Dudley?
Yeah, you speak the truth. Rob and I have talked about this many times. Arkansas from 1 to 42, has been decent, but from 42 to 85 hasn't, and it's always been a deal now with Portland transfer where people are some of the best ones are going out. I mean, the linebacking crews at Ole Miss, safeties, went back to their previous colleges, and something I've never seen. But they did a really good job at hitting on portal guys. And here's the one thing I would say. It's important to find the right talent, but it's also important to find the right reason to play. And I believe they've got some guys, especially on this defense and, even on the offense, that are playing football for the right reason. It's not to make money, even though that's an avenue you have now. It's because you want to win. And I don't care how much you get paid, how little you get paid. When you step between the lines, if you don't believe you can win and you don't go all out trying to win, then you'll go 4-8. If you do, you'll win 4 games in the first 6, and you really should be 6-0.
Really? You're right. And to Doug's point, the one thing about the coaching, you can't coach not to do turnovers. That just is a byproduct of the game, right? So you take away those turnovers, the Hogs are 6-0. They are the story of the SEC. That's the coaching job that Pittman has done. I'm so impressed. I'm hoping that you guys, for your sake, had recruits at that game against Tennessee, because if there were a lot of recruits there, there's going to be some Arkansas kids that are going to play for Pittman if he makes it through this year, and I think he will.
There's plenty of them, and what's interesting, one committed after the ball game. He's a 2025 preferred walk-on, but his brother is an outstanding 2027 quarterback.
Yeah, we call that a Strat B bid.
Yeah.
The other thing I see, guys, to borrow, I mean, boy, we're all wearing out Nick Saban quotes that, somebody's going to have to produce a gloss of Sabanisms that we can refer to. But the rat poison comment.
I love that.
What you really, in using that term, I don't want to take away anything from a team like Arkansas that just played better than Tennessee. And at different points you thought, okay, Tennessee's going to take over here. Nope, not so much.
Beat them.
And and they're doing it with some smart game planning. They're playing to their players' strengths, and they're mitigating the liabilities that they have on their roster. And I think that if I had a criticism of Hugh Freeze, it's that he's so stubbornly trying to install his system of RPOs that there are at least a couple of those games, definitely not Georgia. Georgia was always going to beat Auburn. They're just better right now. And you have to, if it were a poker game, you got to draw an inside straight, Frank, to beat Georgia right now. But I think C was eating rat poison of feeling all this love that they're the dark horse to win the SEC. And, technically they still could. I think I said, remember back in summer, guys, it feels more and more prophetic, although it was Captain Obvious, that I don't think there will be a single SEC team with fewer than 2 losses. Later in the show, Rob, if you're fair to me, we'll get to how I was loving Vanderbilt before it was cool to love Vanderbilt.
He was.
You definitely were.
Wasn't bold.
You were.
Hey,
Even I wasn't bold enough to. Anyway, I think Alabama tasted rat poison, and that contributed to them thinking they could waltz in there. Diego Pavia was on a show, and they brought Johnny Manziel on and surprised him with that. Cool. Because he models himself. He's a poor man's Johnny Football, is I guess what you'd say. But I think that Alabama in the coin toss, Pavia said they were just really talking trash and what we're going to do to you guys. And Pavia said they were just saying, okay, let's see, we'll see. And so how you take these teams, these rosters, that 30% of which are mercenaries brought in the offseason out of the portal, and how you create a true culture of team. It's like Kirby Smart said, the margins are so thin now. That's why you're seeing these close score, these narrower margins in a lot of games with teams that aren't supposed to be playing well. And Kirby said, everyone can go after our backups now with NIL. So, and I'm going to start valuing more. I'm going to really value a coaching staff that shows me they can really get players' attention to play hard every single week, not just when it's a marquee helmet on the other side of the field.
Dudley, I want to throw something at you.
Two things about Vanderbilt. Number one, I think they know you leave Broadway girls alone. They found out you don't throw the goalpost into the river. I mean, I know they got it back out, but it took an operation to get it out. They're going to make money out of that. So you got to learn how to win and learn how to celebrate. I think
you got to been there before. You got to be there, or at least pretend like you do. Hey, you're going to cut up that Vanderbilt goalpost in little bitty 1-inch sections, and that would have made a lot of money. Could have given it to charity. Yeah,
they're doing a 4-inch section of that goalpost.
There you go.
$1,000, 8-inch section. I think Rob Brown bought one. 8-inch section, a cool $4,000.
I love it. I love it.
If those Vanderbilt students were smart, they would have paraded that goalpost through Belle Meade and wrapped it in black and gold and said, "Boom, Cumberland." I'm gonna say this is something that Doug and Frank just referenced, and Dudley, you know this because you're a war horse. By the way, Fayetteville, if you have not been there lately, it's the Boulder of the South, but it's in a red state. It's absolutely the Fayetteville, Rogers, Bentonville, Springdale. Audrey's ready to move there. I mean, over 200 miles of mountain bike trails connecting all those cities. They got kayaking, whitewater. It's unbelievable. I'm just telling you, it blows your mind. All right, Dudley, if you can get your ones to practice as hard as your 2s and 3s, you have arrived as a coach in a program. Sam Pittman said something very prophetic this week. He said, you're getting your kids' attention when in the post-game interviews, they're repeating what you say to them in practice every day. And if they're not, you ain't getting through to them. But we're getting through to our guys, and that makes me real excited. I bet you he went and got 2 things of Popeyes after that one because he loves Popeyes.
Yeah, Popeyes and his beer. I imagine there were a few cold ones, had around the state on Saturday night or last Sunday morning. It seemed like that game went forever. That's interesting. I think when you're the home team and it's upset, that clock runs so slow.
Yeah.
And you asked me about Tennessee back, and I still think they're going to be a really good football team. I think they had. I think Nico had post-snap problems. I don't think he had pre-snap ones. I think he had post-snap ones because they did something different. They switched things up. They jumped left and right, and the play that was called, maybe he didn't switch it to the right one. They're still a very good football team. Obviously this is going to be a big week for them. You mentioned six of the last 8 in Tennessee have gone to Florida. One of those things you throw out the records, but in Tennessee, they're going to be ready to show that the Arkansas thing was a fluke.
They got a tough 3 weeks. Yeah, they got a tough 3 weeks, man. Arkansas, Florida, and Bama, they've got their hands full. They had a little bit of a cupcake going early, but this is their month. They gotta prove it.
Yeah. Dudley, one more question before we let you go, and let people know how they can follow you, because you're putting out a ton of great work. Doug, go ahead, because I think Doug had one, but I just wanted to say we'll be back on with you Wednesday talking about it, because I know the Hogs are off tomorrow, but great insight.
Hogville.net is we cover all 19 sports. Got big scrimmages, baseball scrimmages this weekend with Oklahoma State. That's going to be fun. I hope Josh Holliday brings his brother Matt for the festivities, and then obviously play LSU the next week. And Fearless Friday, you know how much I love my high school football. I wrote a couple of stories this week. It spurs my juices on writing about high school sports, because I think it's the epitome of everything right now.
I agree.
Hey,
Doug's got
one
another
more
question. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, Dudley, this has been on my, because I've had as an Auburn guy, I've been able to watch Coach Petrino up close and personal, shake his hand over. You go way back, and I think his masterpiece, he's had a bunch of them, was going into Bryant-Denny Stadium in 2002, I believe it was, Rob, and he got no running. Carnell's injured, Ryan injured, and he took little Trey Smith and used the tight end a lot, and was able to go in there and beat Alabama, a game Auburn probably shouldn't have won. But it's been on my mind that he's sitting there, and I think he and Sam Pittman probably get along famously. And I have a feeling Petrino's an offensive guy, but I bet he gives some ideas to Travis Williams on here's what I would do to attack you. And so it all adds up. The game planning component of Pittman, Trav, T-Will, and Petrino, I bet that is some superior, evil genius stuff going on in game planning. Your thoughts on that, Dudley?
I think you're definitely right. Not only to expand it more, this staff they have this year is working so well together. And as I've mentioned on this show before, I think Dan Enos is a great coach. I think he's a great man, but the Dan Enos experience didn't work last year. There were so many chemistry issues and all that. But it's as of last game, everything's fine around here. But LSU could come in and put you back where you need to be. We'll see.
Well, it's going to be a fun closeout. The next 6 games are going to be 3. You got Ole Miss, LSU, and Texas coming up to the northwest corner. It is going to be Dixon Street, could potentially be as crazy as Bourbon Street. So anyway, Dudley, have a great weekend.
Easy
we'll
now.
see you back Wednesday morning.
Hey, one thing I can tell you is there was a Tennessee fan who obviously suffered a double loss on Saturday. Not only did he, his team lose, but he got arrested because Dixon Street's still undefeated.
I saw one look like he got the hell beat out of him. He was running his mouth in the wrong spot, brother.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Him and Baker Mayfield know what it's like. Dixon Street's undefeated.
It's an awesome place, man. All right, Dudley, we'll see you Wednesday. Hogville.net. Check him out. And the high schools, over 200 high schools, he goes to every one of them. Thank you for being on here with us.
Hey,
I'm going to tell y'all one thing. You just said it, Doug. Doug nailed it about Petrino at Auburn in 2002. Remember, Travis Williams was at Auburn 2001 through 2005. So he was a player when Petrino was a coach there. Right. And I wonder, and think about the people that have influenced T-Will, Tuberville, Kevin Steele. This is a hell of a staff.
Yeah, and Rob, it's terrible when you call your football team we. I'm not playing for them, but Auburn. Auburn had to send T-Will out to the developmental leagues. I'm sure Dudley loves hearing that. And we're keeping an eye on Travis Williams for future coaching talent. He could, I think Auburn would have a pretty good chance to lure him to be a defensive coordinator in the future if we need one. But I'm also going to put a little circle of curiosity around T-Well as the future SEC head football coach if he keeps us up.
Yeah, I think they put that game plan in Thursday, and have you seen all the social media stuff, guys, where he talks about all the tape that he watched, and he saw these tendencies in Nico. Remember, Nico's only been in 2 SEC games, and both of them have been on the road, guys. I mean, that's a big ask to play against Brent Venables and then Travis Williams' defense. And another guy on that staff I keep talking about is Marcus Woodson. Remember what he did with Noah Igbenogany out of Hewitt Trustful, turned him in from a wideout to a defensive back, first round pick of the Miami Dolphins. So your cerebral gathering of those 3 guys right there. I mean, Bobby Petrino, you can say what you want about him, that damn it, he gets results.
I mean, 3 weeks ago, they were dead men walking, and now I think they've turned it around. And look at Brendan's boy down there at Napier. I'm not saying he's staying, but he's turned it around as well. I mean, 3 weeks ago, they were both job openings. I think they're still up for grabs. I think it's still a 50-50 now on both of them, the way they've turned it around.
Brendan, what do you think about the Napier deal?
You would say that he's turned it around?
I think they're playing.
Turned it around?
Well, hang on a second. I saw that game against Mississippi.
Calm down there.
I saw the game against Mississippi State, and they imposed their will on State.
Imposed their will? I don't know about imposing their will.
I had Florida.
And they're not that good, by the way.
I had Florida as a bet. That was the easiest bet I had that day. They put them away in Stark Vegas. Mm-hmm. And look at that UCF game. Everybody was worried about that, and I said Florida's going to come out there and beat UCF, and they did. That was no easy match against Sweater Vest. So I'm telling you, those are 2 nice wins. They have put the gallows on hold. The electricity, they've turned off the generator. There's life for both these coaching staffs. Wrong. I'm not saying they're going to escape the year, but I'm just saying the odds are they're more on a 50-50 than what they ever were 3 weeks ago.
Go into Knoxville and beat Tennessee, then you'll have my.
Yeah, get a real win and impress me somehow. I mean, because you didn't score any points in the third and fourth quarter. There's a lot of stuff that's indicative of what they've done. At the beginning of last year, even I don't know. I'm just not really. I'm not sold on any of it because the wins are wins they should have won. This was the easy part of the season. Now we go into the stretch.
Florida will be in this game against Tennessee. You watch.
Okay. I think so.
You watch.
Rob, I want to lure our good Bama Nation. It's going to all be all right, Bama Nation. I promise you. You got players. Be all right. But I can't help but think, man, is there a bigger psychological ask of a team going into just a week later playing an SEC opponent on the road than the Vanderbilt Commodores? I mean, I don't know. Frankly, I have to tell us what the line is in that one. I'm sure it's Kentucky favored, but everything screams at you to take Kentucky and lay whatever the points are. And that's why there ain't no damn way I'm getting off the Vanderbilt train. They've been good to me all season. I didn't pick them against Alabama. Only a fool would have done that. But it's so fun to watch these subplots, the psychology of the game, which coaching staff can get their players to have a short memory, forget the last game, win or lose, forget the last one, to keep playing. And by the way, to my Auburn family friends, how does Brian Kelly say it? My family.
My family.
Please do not procreate if you think Hugh Freeze should be fired after this year, Auburn fan. If you think Hugh Freeze
that's insane.
Should be fired, the way he's recruiting, get the buyout, we can write checks at Auburn, if nothing else. Please do not procreate. Give Darwin a hat tip and just let the idiocy stop at wherever you are.
Is there really
rude? But man, if you have
is there really talk about that, Doug?
Frank, it's mainly that I think less than 20% segment with no power or authority that didn't want Hugh Freeze hired out the gate, and so they smell blood now. But listen,
That's
2-4
insanity.
does not equal 2-4 just every. If you look at Auburn's production on offense, it's top 5 or 6 in every category, but they keep making catastrophic judgment mistakes at critical points in the game. And I think you double the way we're sitting at 4. You're a spot ahead of us, LSU. Alabama's 2 in most of the services, and Georgia's 5 or 6. So if you're recruiting like that back-to-back years, you do not replace that coach. You double down on it.
That's
and
right.
Give the guy 2 or 3 more years.
Look, most sane Auburn people realize that you guys were not going to compete for the SEC this year. This was a building block year. Well, the guy's just gone out and gotten a top 5 recruiting class. What are you going to do? Throw that away? That's insane.
Well, here's one thing.
Sam Turner.
Yeah, Doug, if Auburn were a publicly traded stock, let's pretend Auburn's a pharmaceutical stock.
Yeah.
They had a scandal malfeasance with the CEO, and they lost their pipeline. They had no products in the pipeline, nothing in phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials of FDA approval to get onto the market. When you lose 57 players and you have one player 2 years later from the first class of Potato Head, and that is Jarquez Hunter, I've never, and I follow Auburn as a science, I've never seen the roster this depleted. If you were to fire Hugh Freeze, that would be the absolutely insanity.
Yes.
And you're going to bury the program. If you really want to bury Auburn, fire the freak coach and do this over and over. It never works. It's a long-term buy. When you're recruiting like this and your record's this, you're doing something special, Doug.
Well, it would just be a petulant move.
Yeah, and not only that, we're probably giving we're giving rumor more oxygen than it even deserves.
Agreed.
To be clear to our listeners, I don't think anything remotely serious about the possibility of our power brokers thinking that it makes sense to enter the hiring arena again after only 2 years. That would be back-to-back 2-year tenures. So it's not to be taken seriously, but I was just getting in front of the idiocy. Has Freeze mistakes with yes, as do every single coach if you look at least 12 games. It's just that some teams can mask their coaching or QB mistakes because they are winning by bigger margins, and it doesn't come down to making one play.
Well, by the way, we left the Fire Brian Kelly crowd in Vegas. We didn't let them back on the plane. When we were walking after the USC game, and I heard some of that, I was like, are y'all out of your mind? Sober up. We're taking you off the juice. There's just no way that you can do that. That's just knee-jerk reaction. It's insanity.
Let me say, I want to say real quick before.
Go ahead.
Doug, go ahead. There's a delay. Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Well, I was just going to say I liked, and I'm acting like I'm Jimmy the Greek now, which is ridiculous. But I liked Ole Miss big against South Carolina. I figured Kiffin was mad and they would bounce back. Didn't expect that good a performance by the Ole Miss defense, and so the average, the public, I guess, is going to like Ole Miss going into Death Valley. Not me, Duffy. I think this is when LSU's been quiet. Have you noticed how quiet things are about LSU? Everybody's talking about Georgia, Alabama.
I like it that way.
We'll see if Tennessee. I know, but that Ole Miss is going into a buzzsaw in Death Valley. Is it a night game, Frank?
Yes, and I'll tell you, the last time we were underdogs at night, we won a game on a pretty cool 2-point play. If you can remember that. Against Alabama 2 years ago. Last time we won.
Question for y'all. And I'm going to say something about Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee, one of our sponsors. I was in there this week. I'm in there about every week. Love that place. They've got Barber, Filson, STS, Pendleton, Schaefer. They've got Old South, Duckheads, over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. Go there and experience that store, open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. They've got duck camp hunting gear. You wouldn't believe the stuff that they have in their kids' boots, toys. It is an awesome place, Hewlett & Dunn. I'm going to throw this one at you, Doug. You like LSU tomorrow night against Ole Miss, correct?
Yep, big.
All right, here's the question. What's going on with Ulysses Bentley the fourth, Ole Miss's running back? He's got like 11 carries in the first 6 games. Who's running the ball better right now and has the most promising upside running back in the SEC? It's that guy at LSU. I like a team that can run the ball at home. And I'll tell you what's on trial again this week is Lane Kiffin, 25 guys in the portal. This is eventually you're going to find out. Remember when everybody used to go, some teams did, heavy junior college, and it'll catch up with you. I believe that if you don't like the portal and you don't like all this stuff, I'm not pulling against Ole Miss, but if you don't like the portal, you don't want Lane Kiffin to succeed. So is it about high school development? Is it the portal? This game tomorrow night has so many storylines.
It
Frank,
does.
you know, Doug, both of y'all, take at it.
Well, it absolutely does. And by the way, you're not only looking at 2 top 10 teams that are going to be having a tilt in Tiger Stadium. And like I said, at night, we're an underdog. Bring it on. But you're also looking at, in my opinion, 2 top NFL drafted quarterbacks that's going to be on display in this game. And, you know, the last 2 games, you saw all the fireworks. You know, Ole Miss came in as cocky 2 years ago in the Tiger Stadium for an afternoon game. And they went out to a 14-point lead. Jackson Dart looked invincible. And, you know, our defense actually came alive. And I think we scored the next 45 points to beat them. Last year, our problem was we couldn't stop them. In fact, nobody could stop the other one. It was like a tennis match. Whoever had the last serve was going to wind up walking away the winner. And you saw that. We were on the 10-yard line trying to score at the end of the game and wound up getting picked off on a desperation throw on virtually the last play. So you're going to see 2 offensive programs that are playing at a high caliber. It's going to be the defense that's able to get the big stop at the right time. And I think the atmosphere of Tiger Stadium at night with the crowd noise, the signals will be tough for Ole Miss. I think that, honestly, it could be a 12th man situation with the crowd tomorrow night, as amped up as that crowd's going to be, that might give our defense that one play stop late in the game that seals it.
Yeah. Doug, give me a worst case scenario for Ole Miss tomorrow.
Worst case. Well, I mean, Ole Miss, they're already sitting on the Kentucky loss. So if they, you know, technically everybody understands basic math. Ole Miss can lose at LSU, but the problem with it is if you look at probabilities and what Ole Miss has left, we went into the season saying they've got a very manageable schedule.
Yeah.
But they look at Ole Miss's schedule, and they're coming into – they still got to play Oklahoma and Oxford a week later. At Arkansas in August, that looked very winnable for Ole Miss, but you got to reevaluate that in Fayetteville. Correct. And then they get Georgia. I think Georgia's going to be too much for Ole Miss by that. So, yeah, the worst case is losing. If they lose by 1 point, and point spreads, I don't think are going to – margin of victory is going to be the factor it is some years. Back to your original point, is it just me, or in the SEC, it feels like the ground attack has come in vogue again? And by that I mean that there were years, remember, man, goodness knows LSU in 2019, just they ran the ball well, no doubt about it, but they were just slicing people up through the air with those great wide receivers and Joe Burrow. And things are cyclical. Now I see games being put away or mistakes being mitigated by being kind of heavy on the ground attack. And when a quarterback is fine, and Hugh Freeze should adopt more of this, when your quarterback gets up to the line and you think he's learned enough on RPOs to read a defense, going against $2 million a year defensive coordinators, and they've been doing this 30 years, and I would want him to say is, look, if anything feels uncertain to you, you never go wrong checking into a run play when you've got Jarquez Hunter or some of these backs behind you. That if it's 2 yards, that's a win. Get 2nd and 8, and you live to fight another day. And so I think LSU is comfortable being who they are historically, which is powerful in the trenches, and just make it a manhood game, like Duffy likes to say. And then, sure, you're still going to put the ball up in the air. And I think Lane Kiffin's problem is he cannot help himself. He loves to fling the ball. And I just think if Kentucky can hold them in Oxford, hold them to that point total, I like LSU's chances as well.
All right, along that line, I'm going to throw this at you, Doug. J.J. Pegues, they give him 2 short touchdown runs against South Carolina on the road. You're trying to be cute. Bobby Bowden did that a lot at Florida State. I remember in 1995, they lost their first ever ACC game. It was a road game on a Thursday night in Charlottesville against Virginia. Right. And they kept playing around, and they lost. And I look at this, and Doug, you look at Ole Miss, and their defense, it looks good. But if you can't run the ball, that's the point of this show, the running game coming back, because when everything else is if it ain't working, run the ball, control the clock, eat up clock, and get physical. I think, Doug, that's the best thing I've heard on this show today.
That's why Vanderbilt beat Bama. They were controlling the line of scrimmage. And that wasn't a fluke. That was a beatdown. And by the way, let me tell you, I think there's a little bit more than just a fluke loss at Alabama. Let me tell you what I'm thinking. Alabama's culture under Nick Saban was incredibly businesslike.
Yeah.
There was no shenanigans bullshit on the sideline in an Alabama game or practice. He wouldn't have it. All the BS that you saw in Alabama with the Boers team against Georgia and other teams before that, all the pruning for the camera and stuff, that came home to roost, because there's no way you can preach rat poison and let the showboating go on. And I'm telling you, this is not just a one-off, like we caught a cold. I think this could be symptomatic for the University of Alabama going forward.
Doug, Alabama's got
Frank,
South Carolina.
Add to that. I didn't hear you, Rob. We're getting
no. I'm saying Alabama's got South Carolina. How do you see that one playing out tomorrow?
Well, I'm not as foreboding as Frank about. I think we just need to see Alabama play a couple more games, and then you'll know what. I think in late November, Coach DeBoer, and it doesn't mean that it points to him being a bad hire. It's the transitional year, and a lot of their leaders, like Caleb Downs, who's doing really well at Ohio State now and driving a Lamborghini. These guys, I'm sure they missed some of those players and team leaders, but they're still loaded. So in late November, DeBoer the book on him will be people kind of chuckling about that embarrassing Vandy loss, or is it really embarrassing? Or are we just kind of applying Vanderbilt of old to a Vanderbilt team that's actually playing very competent football right now if you go take the time to watch them play? Was it just me, or it is so beautiful to see that little shovel pass executed well, because if they drop it, it's an incomplete pass. But you let guys rush right past it, and there's a running back for easy. So I think I would pick Alabama to roll against South Carolina.
I agree.
At home, they're going to be playing with some anger, and they're just better than South Carolina. But then you have to go look at they go to Knoxville a week later, and that'll be two teams both really trying to get their name back in the hunt as competing to play for the SEC championship. Whichever team drops that game is really up against it making the playoff. And how weird would it be? And it's not what you're. I know you're. How weird would it be to say? And I don't wish this on the Crimson Nation, proud program, but to have beaten the Georgia Bulldogs in October and end up not making the playoff. How do you do that?
That would say everything about the college football world we live in now. Ken Capps is no longer sideways. He's at the Texas State Fair out in Dallas. They got a football game there tomorrow at the Cotton Bowl, and it's the first time it's ever been an SEC
Oh, yeah.
game. So what's that like?
Well, I tell you, Rob, I'm still sideways, even though I turned my camera around. Okay,
We couldn't figure out what was going on.
me neither. You know, these remote broadcasts are kind of tricky. You know, and I'm not at the house, but I'm here at the Cotton Bowl, and you know, I just had a beer truck pull up behind me, so I guess they're getting ready here today. Frank, I was thinking about you. A gigantic 18-wheeler beer truck just pulled up.
Gotta love them.
But, you know, think of this. After all the upsets of last week, think about this. Week 6 in the SEC, the team that is undefeated and number 1 in the nation is a former team from the Big 12. And that's the University of Texas. I mean, I don't think anybody would have ever scripted that in the beginning of this season. Certainly not when we were all together at SEC Media Days here in
Doug
Dallas.
Dean did.
We did. Yeah, me and Doug
Oh,
actually
you did?
did.
Okay, Doug. Well,
Yeah, we both
Doug, I
called
got a
Texas.
corny dog stand right down the road here. I'll get you a good corny dog. Do you take mustard or ketchup with your corny dog? But you know, Texas is really sitting in a very, very precarious situation because they are the overwhelming favorite in this game, 14.5 points, ranked number 1 in the nation, and all the pressure is on Texas. And if you're a Texas fan over the years, you know that you want to come into this game the underdog.
Yeah, look at 2 years ago. Same thing.
Exactly. You want to come in the underdog. And, you know, last year Texas was also the favorite. And what did Dylan Gabriel do? You know, Texas was winning. I mean, they had the game in hand, 1:22 to play. Dylan Gabriel marches them down the field, you know, all the way down the field. They scored a touchdown in the last few seconds and win the ball game. Yeah. So, I mean, this game can go either way. I don't think Texas is feeling confident about anything. I think they feel good about their team, but I think Sark has got them in the right mind frame as far as, you know, we just got to come into this game and play our game. But, you know, it's going to be, again, a whole different ball game because you've got Michael Hawkins, the new freshman quarterback at OU from Frisco, right here in the Metroplex, just right up the road from the Cotton Bowl here, about 30 miles. Yeah. And, you know, he's a true freshman, and he runs. And, you know, Texas, I'm sure, has been preparing for that. But what I find even more shocking than Michael Hawkins being the starting quarterback now is the downfall of Jackson Arnold. I mean, Jackson Arnold 2 years ago was going to be the heir apparent, the second coming for the Oklahoma quarterbacks. And it's kind of like what, you know, if y'all remember Spencer Rattler a few years ago. And then all of a sudden, boom, he starts off kind of slow, has a bad game and gets benched. So, you know, my question is, you know, is he going to transfer out of here after this year? Because, I mean, unless Michael Hawkins, you know, completely fails, which I don't think he's going to do, you know, he may end up being the starter. And I think tomorrow it's going to be tough for him, being a freshman quarterback, to come in against the number 1 team in the nation. But it happens all the time. And Texas has a very good shot of, you know, it's going to be a tight game. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Doug Dean, jump back in. See if you're there. I wanted to get, because Doug in the preseason had Texas as his number 1 team. And Doug, I want you to talk with Ken about Texas because you saw this coming. You're muted.
Say to anyone listening, if you think I'm on a heater, I have been picking games, but that's why you jump off of the train, whatever I pick this week, be the contrarian. But, it wasn't any sort of genius to like the Longhorn. We hear the reason I like Texas, I'm that high on Steve Sarkisian, and I observed a little subtle thing that, you know, people that did, or in my line of work, are maybe more skilled to notice. And that's Sarkisian has really committed to culture and is not just taking any hired gun player he appears to be really taking his time to take kids that are there playing there for the right reason. They got to have the measurables and they got to have talent, but he's calling some of those. And then it helps when you play the kind of defense Texas has been, and you've got Quinn Ewers. It
Yeah,
didn't
the quarterback
cross my
room
mind
doesn't
that
suck.
Arch Manning
That's right.
Every other SEC team would have had at least one loss in a 3-week stretch without their starting quarterback. Every one of us would have had one loss. That's what the quarterback room at Austin, that's what that did.
Well, I tell you that, that's kind of another, that's kind of a,
Go ahead,
I was
Doug.
just going to say, guys, I was just going to say,
Texas has the keep
Doug,
walking on
you're
each
breaking
other
up.
because it's got a
Yeah,
bad
go ahead,
signal.
Doug.
Texas has the luxury of getting Ewers injured. I hope he doesn't. And you send Arch Manning in, there's almost no drop off other than game experience.
Yeah.
So I just think when you get in these shootout games, Easian has a team that's built to get that done. They can make just enough stops that when they get to their really big games, and there's one coming up for sure, you could say tomorrow, but I think really on the 19th against Georgia in Austin, that'll tell us a lot. But I think Texas has the ability to only have one loss. I think they're going to have two, but Texas, it doesn't matter. If they've got 2 losses, they're in the playoff, probably top 6 seeding.
Well, Oklahoma used all 9 of their lives in Jordan Hare. So they lost them all when they came back on y'all. Texas is going to put a snot bubble on them. Texas's speed is just too much for Oklahoma. Texas's offense is running like a German Panzer division. I'm just, and look, when you've got the ability to have Ewers come back, and I'm asking Ken, is he 100%? I've heard he's 100%. He's good to go. Is that correct?
yes, he's good to go. He will start. But that that brings up a whole nother, Frank, that you're stealing my material here. That brings up another subplot. And there's so many for tomorrow, but Sark has already made it clear that Ewers is going to start. So Ewers comes in. He hasn't played in 2 weeks plus a bye, and so he comes in maybe the first or second drive, starts kind of slowly, and he has the tendency to throw a really stupid interception every once in a while. And so if it's early, and the Oklahoma defense is very good too. Danny Stutzman and that crew. Are the fans going to start clamoring? Start yelling Arch, 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 Arch. And I tell you, Sark is going to be with Ewers because that's his number one dude. He's made that very clear, and he's made it. As great as Arch has played, he's sticking with Ewers unless Ewers gets injured again.
Ewers would have won the Heisman if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, I think he's now like 20-1 or something like that.
He would have won the Heisman if he didn't get hurt.
All right, question for you. You look and looking around the SEC. I mean, we got Alabama, South Carolina. We've touched on that. Florida at Tennessee. I think the Gators could cover in that game.
I like the points.
And I know a lot of people are ready to move on from Billy Napier, but Florida, Tennessee. Florida has won 6 of the last 8 up there, Ken. Psychologically, I just have a lot of memories. If you watch Tennessee and Florida play, Florida last year in the second quarter did all their damage to Tennessee. Then after that, they just hung on. Okay, let's look at the other one. Georgia plays Mississippi State. I think that's going to be Georgia's going to win big. Not a whole lot to talk about there. Kentucky, Vanderbilt. Guys, let's talk about that. Vandy and the Fighting Pavias. Diego is a tough kid from Albuquerque with an attitude. Who wouldn't want that guy in the locker room with them as their quarterback? What a warrior. I want William Wallace as my quarterback. I don't want Mr. Rogers in a sweater vest, a beta. I want an alpha male, Ken. I love this kid's story.
Yes. And I just hope that, in the next couple of weeks, Vandy can find their goalposts down there in the Cumberland River,
I think they can afford some new ones.
Look,
They had a fundraiser in Belmead, I heard, Sunday afternoon.
The kid's got Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel in him. He does. He has that thing. The problem is, I think you're going to have a letdown from Vandy after that big, incredible win. Now you got to get back to reality and go on, to play Kentucky. And look, we saw what Kentucky did to Ole Miss. Kentucky's a good football team.
Right.
They just caught South Carolina. I think they were napping a little bit. I think Kentucky wins this. I think they cover. But look, it doesn't take away the great story that Vandy is. That was a once in a lifetime, a 1 in 60 shot.
1 in 60.
It's awesome. I'm happy for them, but I think they come back down to earth because I think Kentucky again. I think Kentucky's a 8 or 9 win team this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I used to live in Nashville. And believe it or not, I used to jog. That was many decades ago. And I jogged around the track. They used to have a track in that stadium.
Yeah.
And so it was so much fun for me to watch that game and to watch. First thing I thought of, though, we've talked a lot about rushing the field on this show. It's like, well, that Vandy's going to have to cough up, either 25 grand or 50 grand to the SEC for doing that, but I'm sure there's some alumni that's already paid that.
It was 100, and I guarantee you the Vanderbilt endowment happily forked that over.
Well, as Dean Wormer said in Animal House, I believe we can make up a collection, a contribution from the alumni fund. The honorarium.
I'm sure we can.
Yeah. All right, let's do all over the SEC real quick. Start with Ken. Give me your top 4 teams going into week 7 of the SEC because we cover all 16 of them. I know Missouri is taking on water right now after the ass kicking that they took at the hands of the Aggies. They're still cheering, and all those cadets out there with those birth control haircuts, man, they're all getting sunburned. That's tough. It was 150 degrees out there in Austin.
Yes,
that was rough.
Yes. It's going to be 95 here tomorrow. 95 is going to be the air temperature. So not exactly a fall football day here at the Cotton Bowl, but it doesn't matter. I've seen this game. I've seen this game when it was 45 degrees. I've seen it when it's 100 degrees. So it's amazing what the weather does here in Dallas on the second weekend of October. But back to your question. It's obviously Texas, Alabama, still Georgia. And that 4th team is kind of lingering out there. I'd put Mississippi in there.
Now, they got to go to Baton Rouge tomorrow night. And, Frank, y'all are down there licking their – look, it's – to me, having been a TV reporter out of college for a couple of years, it's what we don't get in the 22 minutes of content of a 30-minute newscast that you really need to know about. You're not hearing a lot about LSU. And usually the biggest badass – in a bar when a fight breaks out is the one that you think the least. Most of my really tough friends that have been in combat have said, fight breaks out in the bar, I'm going out the side door. I don't need any more of that crap. But LSU is licking their chops. And I'm going to be at a party tomorrow night, an Ole Miss party. I'm covering the SEC. Frank, that Tiger's going to be roaring.
There's only 3 undefeated teams in the SEC, boys. It's Texas, Texas A&M, and LSU. Those are still the 3 that are still undefeated in the SEC.
Within conference play,
yeah, that's right. In the conference, my 1 is Texas. Has been all year. My number 2, actually, I think is Georgia. Even though they lost to Alabama, I think Georgia's number 2. Bama's number 3. But my number 4 is the winner of tomorrow night's LSU Ole Miss game. That's who I would put in the 4-team round robin. I think the winner comes out of that in better shape than Tennessee, and just slightly better than A&M. I frankly put A&M ahead of Tennessee, in my opinion. I think A&M has played fantastic football. I think that even though I had Notre Dame at bet in that first opening game, Texas A&M has really come on in the last 4 weeks. They've taken care of business, and they beat a hell of a good Arkansas team. So I think it's going to be the LSU Ole Miss winner tomorrow night, and my money is on an eerie October night in the Bayou when the fog rolls in. and you can walk down on the bourbon just on the scent of it alone. I think, and look, at some point in time, Ole Miss is going to wake up and remember who they're playing, and they're going to remember that they can't find their way to Atlanta if you spotted them a GPS and a flashlight. And we at LSU call the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the Georgia Dome Tiger Stadium East. I think that realization is going to come back because at the end of the day, we're LSU, they're Ole Miss.
Well, Ken, let me ask you this. Have you had a chance to sit down and have a burger with Mike Elko? Because he looks like he likes a burger. The guy's an Ivy Leaguer, I think.
Yeah.
Dartmouth?
No, I have not. I have not had a chance to visit with him one-on-one. I was very, very impressed with how he handled himself at SEC Media Days.
Yes.
And that's the thing though. At SEC, the only knock I have on SEC Media Days versus the Big 12 Media Days is that after the coach goes up on stage and talks for the network and everything else, after he finishes, he does at the Big 12. The coach does a media gaggle on the side of the stage with all the reporters. That it's just kind of expected. It's very informal, but that's where you get a lot of the real kind of news, the sound bites. And with the SEC, they take those coaches up to the stage with Sankey introduces them, and then they take them up the stage, and then somebody walks them right back behind that black curtain, and you don't see them the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And so I would love to sit down and talk to Elko. I've thought about going up to when he does his radio show up in College Station. It's only about 100 miles from here. Going down there on like a Wednesday night, and apparently he's very cordial. We'll go out into the audience and talk to people, take pictures, sign autographs, and that's something that Jimbo and Kevin Sumlin would never in a million years have done.
Yeah,
hey,
and
just don't let the cult snatch you up. Don't let the cult snatch you up. Be
No.
I'm going to tell you, A&M fans they're off the charts in terms of loyalty. Y'all know that. But Elko, I think they've got an adult. They've got a guy that understands that program, understands what they are, what makes them tick, and he's dialing into that, and they're playing under control. And Connor Wigman coming back. This kid was a 5-star coming out of high school. He's a stud. But what's crazy is all the players that left A&M, they had the second best portal class behind only Ole Miss. But it's that line of scrimmage, just the depth. And they lost 3 defensive tackles, guys like Isaiah Rikes, who's at Auburn, Walter Nolan, who is at Ole Miss now. A&M looks what they did to Missouri, guys. Let's get your thoughts on Missouri. Ken, you've traveled the Big 12. Frank, you know it. You've been everywhere in Bengal 1. Damn it, Drinkwitz and Missouri, don't talk about bad calls. Any smart coach will tell you most every game comes down to 4 or 5 plays, and don't let some guy that's 3 times your age in a striped shirt beat you. That's pitiful when you blame the damn officials for losing a game.
I 100% agree.
And as a head coach, look, I know these guys are getting paid, but damn it, take responsibility and say, hey, they pay me a lot of money to coach this team, and my assistants get paid a lot of money. It is my job. That is BOLIC, Basic Officer Leadership Indoctrination course. You ask any Marine, Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, they will tell you, as a platoon leader, second lieutenant, 22 years old, coming right out of college, you got 60 men in your platoon, 3 of them go out and get a public drunk, disorderly, it's your ass that's on the line. And as a head coach, you have got to stop this. And I'm for Auburn, obviously, in the full disclosure. Everybody's got to pull for somebody. But I don't like that. I believe you criticize them in private. I'm not soft. I'm not PC. I'm not woke. I think y'all know that. What I am is do the right thing. And you know what? If you're going to embarrass or just rip somebody up, you don't have to do it in front of national TV. Just say, you pay me a lot of money. It's my job. FIY. You know what that is? FIO. Figure it out. And I tell you, John Hartwell, my friend, the AD at University of Louisiana Monroe, He's got his new football coach in there, Bryant Vincent. This guy is a rising star from Glasgow, Kentucky. We had him on the show about a month ago. I texted him the other night. They beat James Madison 21-19. John Hartwell called me Thursday night. We were talking. He's sending me a T-shirt, and it's when they rank all the Division I schools in the preseason. It says ULM number 134 in the preseason, and they're 4-1. They play Southern Miss for homecoming tomorrow. Try to go 5-1. The T-shirt says PTW LFG. Prove them wrong, and y'all know what LFG stands for, laughing for gas. But that's what I love about college football, guys.
Like that.
These great – all right, what's the top food? Frank wanted to know, what's the top food at the Texas State Fair? What are they not frying?
Something's fried. All I know is that something's fried.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm standing here smelling it right now. I mean, I can just put it right to my nose right now. Everything is fried. I mean, the corny dogs, that's kind of we talk about that a lot here because Fletcher's Corny Dogs has been around here since 1942. The Fletcher family started it back then. They still run it. You can now get Fletcher's Corny Dogs in grocery stores. And mostly the first thing people do when they get out here to the fair is go get them a corny dog. Okay.
Yeah.
And they love the one over, and they love I'm 30 yards from it, right? Big Tex is right over here to my right.
Can we get a shot of Big Tex?
I love Big Tex.
I can't see him through the trees, but he's right over. There's a corny
Howdy,
dog
folks.
Howdy,
Oh
folks.
yeah. Oh yeah.
By the
That
way,
would be a good job. Hey Rob, that'd be a good job for you in your retirement.
there you
You
go.
can come be the
I'm
voice
not
of Big
70
Tex.
feet, but you got to be 70 feet
Well-
tall. And
well,
where's the Wranglers?
Well, my wife was born in Waco, lived in Lubbock, went to school in Lubbock. Her family's in Abilene. So their family loves chicken fried steak. That is a big Texas thing with white gravy.
Sir.
Man, that's big. So that's what I would get. I would find me a chicken fried steak sandwich stand, and that would be mine. And some fried. I'm sure there's funnel cake up and down.
Funnel cake.
Fair.
Well, we've got fried cotton candy bacon this year.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord
That
have
is
mercy.
that won the Big Tex Award for best new sweet food.
Oh, that's freaking awesome. I'm in.
Wait,
You know,
say
I've got
that
a-
again.
I mean,
Say
literally,
that again.
Candy bacon.
Before I go to the
Cotton
fair, like I don't eat for 2 days. And I know that when I leave after being out here for 8 hours, I know that I better not eat for another 2 days after that.
Well,
And
you're
Rob,
like an anaconda that just swallowed a goat.
That's right.
When you go to the Texas State Fair.
and Rob,
That's right.
Rob, we've got all my. It's killing me not being in Louisiana this weekend because our dog is rehabbing from surgery. Yeah. It's killing me. But I've already heard my buddies. They had their first cool snap in Louisiana this morning. So the gumbo pots are on, the jambalaya is on. But I got to tell my Ole Miss buddies, we ain't got no damn candelabras, brother. You just gonna have to come and do what you can. There's no candelabras at an LSU tailgate. Sorry.
Well, you know what?
That's just at the Grove.
You know you're in the South when you're eating boiled peanuts, cold beer on the tailgate of a pickup truck. I want to say something. Georgia, don't count out the dogs. I'm watching. Here's what Georgia did. Georgia slowed down to get faster. What they did when they forced the comeback against Alabama, it forced some of those playmakers to step up that had been in hiding, and now they realize what they got. And as Etienne, the running back, gets more involved, that's going to be the key. And for Texas, what's the theme of the week, Ken? The grind. You play Oklahoma tomorrow in the Texas State Fair. The next week you go home and play Georgia. This is going to be – but in the past, they would have to play Arkansas. So there's so many great storylines. We're about to wrap up, but there's so many great storylines. You can't get it all in.
Oh, Texas, yeah. I mean, and the other thing I just wanted to say is, there have been all kinds of upsets in this game. I talked about that a little bit earlier, but I just can't overemphasize it because the last 12 games have been decided by less than a touchdown. And 14.5 points, I just don't know if I believe that or not. Frank, what do you think about that?
Well, I would not touch it because that is a lot of points. But I think Texas is undefeated going to Texas A&M the last game of the regular season. That's my opinion. They're undefeated and playing Texas A&M.
Well, that will be unbelievable when that happens. Okay, hey guys, want to say to all of our sponsors, check them out on the web on our sidelines.live website. Got a big announcement of a new sponsor joining the team Monday morning. You're going to love this. They'll make a lot of great things happen for you. Want to say Exo Armor. Exo Armor, they're making innovative, non-invasive pads and braces to keep athletes in action. Exo Armor, you're going to hear a lot about them. Based in Auburn, they're marketing people. Sarah Cooley out in Portland, Oregon. Colleges, you name the college and the pro teams, they're using these 3D printer, and they get you back on the field in the second half with an injury in the first half. It's changing the way we play sports, okay? And also the Vitamin Shop. Get yourself out to Oxford or Olive Branch, Mississippi, open every day of the week at 9:30 in the morning till 7 or 8 at night, the Vitamin Shop. I want to say again to all of them, like Web-Footed Kennels, Matei's Garage, Tom Martin's Body Shop, House Industries, it's harvest time. They make the greatest agricultural products. Like someone said one time, Ken and Frank, you know you're watching a show based in the South. One of your big sponsors is HouseIndustriesInc.com, based in Cherry Valley, Arkansas. But, man, what an awesome show. We're going to have a great weekend. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Frank, the Cajun Navy, you cannot say enough great things about what you're doing.
Amen.
We're praying for the people in Florida and Georgia that have been hit by this hurricane. Do everything you can to help them. Maybe you don't need that shirt or that coat you want to buy. Help other people. I think that's what we're supposed to do. We should do. I would love to help people. But in North Carolina, East Tennessee, North Georgia, those are some of the most forgotten people. I used to go to camp up there. Frank, you've been up there with the Cajun Navy. Yep. Just leave us with this. How real is what happened up there, and how much help do they need?
It's unbelievable. They need massive amounts of help. Our federal government is not giving it. I don't care. Bullshit on misinformation. They're basically hindering the operation, not helping the operation. The Louisiana Cajun Navy is gone up again. We've set up another location in North Carolina. So we're on the East Tennessee and in North Carolina. They're doing everything. They're bringing people up. It is neighbor helping neighbor, American helping American. These are some of the best people I've seen that are giving of their time and of their effort and their money. And to our fellow Americans who need it desperately, our federal government needs to follow suit and do what's best for people and not what is politically expedient.
Yeah, and I'll see this destruction that is going on in Florida and the Buddy Martin show Monday through Thursdays. I was on there with Buddy last night. Buddy is so cool because he talked about the community. We got 16 schools in the SEC. This is a family, the SEC. Ken, Oklahoma and Texas fans are going to – by the way, I talked to a lot of OU fans in Auburn. They loved it. They were welcomed. But look, folks, there's a lot that you can do to help. Samaritan's Purse, the Cajun Navy, that's Franklin Graham. Billy Graham, boy, do we miss him. But let's do it
down the
all.
street.
Help people when you can. Have a great weekend, everybody. We got a great Monday morning. Coach Ellis Johnson will be on to break down the games. Dave Tompkins will be on with us. God, this is awesome. Thanks for watching.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us. our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.